Okay, so the recording has started. This is the 9th class in the series of classes on writing the Heart Sutra in traditional Chinese characters. And we're going to start the traditional way with the Heart Sutra. So I'm going to share my screen, and then the rest of the class will start. There's Hana. Hi, Hana. There it is. Hi, Hana. So we're just going to chant the Heart Sutra now to start the class properly. Everybody can see the screen, right? Let me make sure I share the screen properly, because, yeah, I'm sharing the sound. Good. Okay. All right. Now I'm unmuted. So is my sound good? You can hear me fine? Clear, coming in clear? Good. Are there any questions or anything you want to bring up before we start the class?
No.
No? Okay. So then I'll go back to sharing my screen, and we'll start looking at lines 17, 18, and 19. Okay. And again, it's important to remember that these line numbers are just line numbers that I'm using, that you might be familiar with from a version of the Heart Sutra that you chant, or it might be completely different from what you're used to seeing when it's written down. This is just so that we can try to keep track as we're going through it, because we're now well enough, more than far enough into the Heart Sutra, that it is important to keep track of where we are, what we've covered. and what we're doing. All right, so these 3 lines go Musu Dok Go Bodhisattawi Banya Paramita Go Shim Mugae Go Muyu Gongpo. And just one more time. Mu So Duk Go Bodhisattawi Banya Paramita, which should be becoming a little bit familiar by now. Go Shim Mugae Go Mu Yu Gongpo. And that means with nothing to attain, the Bodhisattva depends on Prajna Paramita, and the mind is no hindrance. Without any hindrance, no fears exist. All right. So just to, and just make sure everybody, and also this is being recorded, this is happening on November 4th. There's 3 more classes after this, the first Saturday in December, the first Saturday in January of 2024, and the first Saturday of February. And as usual, we'll have 2 breaks in the course of this class, a 5-minute break and then a 10-minute break that sometimes usually turns into a 5-minute break, but just so that I don't try to talk straight through. And at any time, if anybody has any questions, please just feel free to unmute and shout out. Also, if you're watching the recorded version of this, feel free to leave a comment on YouTube or send me an email at steinmetz.kurt@gmail.com. Anyway, so again, just to see the whole picture here, this is, this is the entire Heart Sutra, including the title and the mantra. And these are the 3 lines that we are on right now. So we're over halfway through. If you just look at it from this view, and character-wise, we're well more than halfway through. And this is the part in dark purplish blue with the yellow text is what's left after we're finished. And these are all the characters that we're going to be doing. These are the 30 characters. So these characters up to where? Yeah, up to here. First 8 characters are actually the actual characters from the sutra. Then come the characters that come from the components that are from taking apart, interspersed with some extra characters that I've added in that I'll explain the significance of as we go along. And all of the extra characters, so-called extra characters, they don't occur actually in the Heart Sutra, but they're made up of components that we are covering as part of the class. So just rearranging the components. All right. Now these are the first 3 new characters for this month's section of the Heart Sutra. This is so, and down here. So then we mu, so, duk, go, bodhisattawi. Okay. And so the first new character is so. And so this line here means this is mu, which is no. And these 2 characters together, so duk, means, or these 3 characters together actually mean without anything to attain. So this character here, which we covered last month, means to attain. And this character, which we'll talk a little bit more about, is a way of basically changing a verb into a noun. You take a verb that says to attain something, and this refers to, and this combination here, soduk, means something that is attained or something to attain. And so put together without anything to attain. Go here kind of means therefore, or without anything to attain, therefore. So the way to translate this into English is, and we're going to look at some different translations also later on, but this is a connecting, some sort of a connector, something that says without anything to attain, the Bodhisattva relies on. So without anything to attain, the Bodhisattva relies on Prajna Paramita, which is coming up in the next line, which is it doesn't have any new characters or components in it. Obviously, Prajna Paramita is in the very title of the sutra itself, so it was covered very early on. But this is so the character so, which means that which is so that which is it's actually a very common character in modern Chinese, and it's one of the kind of stumbling blocks for people who are first learning Chinese because of the different ways that it's used. It's not so much something that has a meaning of itself. It has a use as a changing the meaning of other words, like changing the meaning of attain into something that is attained, changing a verb into a noun, kind of. Anyway, it has two components, both of which are new. The first one is ho. This means a household or a door. And from what I know, this is not by itself, this is not a particularly common character that you'd encounter. On the other hand, this is gun, which means an axe or a hatchet, and it also means a unit of weight. This is a fairly common character. Both of these are components that you'll see pop up quite a bit, but this one here is more you're more likely to see as an actual character. Now, one thing that I've got, let's see how this works. I'm going to, is this working or not? Let's see if it is working. Might not work with my laser pointer on. I'm going to change this. Oops. Oh. Trying to get this. Oh, here we go. Yeah. All right. So this is how so is actually drawn. And so it has two strokes that go right to left. Usually, most often, horizontal strokes go left to right, and vertical strokes go up to down. Sometimes I don't think there's any, there are some strokes that go upwards. Yeah. But let me just do that again. If you watch the animation, is that big enough to see? Are people able to see that okay? Yeah, if you're watching this on a phone, it might not work so well. I could zoom in on that part of the screen. Let's see. Yeah, we do these characters. So, oh yeah, one thing to take note of is this is the standalone way of writing the left part of so. So if you go to look for no, I can't do it while I'm zoomed in. If you go to look
Standalone for so or ho?
okay, this is, oh, ho, I'm sorry. You're right. Thank you, Hannah. So this is, if you go to look for an animation of this as a standalone character, this is what you'll find. And also if you go and if you look up ho in a dictionary, this is what you'll usually find. There are different ways of writing this top part. The bottom part is pretty simple. When I say bottom part, I mean the part that the hand is on right now.
Oh, I wanted to thank you for showing us the standalone, because now it makes a lot of sense why they're two separate strokes.
Uh-huh.
Before I was like, why don't they just make that one stroke? Why isn't that
Yes,
one stroke?
that's right. And so you can take this part apart even further and take off this part, because this by itself is sometimes seen as a component. So this is an extra part, and often this stroke here, if you can see where I'm indicating, does come up a little bit. And if you look at different fonts or different calligraphies, different handwritings, you'll see this written in many different ways. It's a little confusing. However, when you put them together to make the so, it usually looks just like this. Okay. That's actually a pretty simple character, but it's one that has some difficulties in it. The next character is Ta. Now, this character actually has some meaning on its own, but it's used here just as part of the Chinese way of pronouncing Bodhisattva, um, and which is so a lot of times in Chinese or in Sino-Korean, more uh, uh, exactly, uh, Bodhisattva is just pronounced as Bosal, but sometimes the full version, both in Chinese and in Korean and in Japanese, is with four characters that spell out what's pronounced in Sino-Korean, Bodhisattva, uh, and so that's the way it is in other parts of the Heart Sutra, or in many other chants, it's just Bosal. But in this particular line of the Heart Sutra, Bodhisattva is more spelled out as Bodhisattva, Bodhisattva, and this is the ta. This is the final. So this here, Bodhisattva, and so sometimes you see Bodhi to refer to Bodhi, and sometimes you'll see Bo-sal as a short form of referring to bodhisattvas, but this is to refer to bodhisattvas when in the more long form way, which is Bodhisattva. The first three characters have been covered previously. All right, and so this ta is made up of two parts: a to on one end, which on the left, which is not a new character, and then su, which is, again, is not a particularly common character. It means to suspend, hang down, something that's listless. It's made up of three very common characters and components. This is, of course, chun, which means 1,000, which was covered previously. This is ip, which is one of the component forms for the number 20, and this is not to, but sa, which means a scholar, or in Chinese, I think it's pronounced more like shi, and so it's a very old and very important Chinese word referring to someone who is a scholar or a government official. And in traditional Chinese society, you can't become a government official without being a scholar, and so the meanings overlap in historically a great deal, and you kind of have to squint your eyes a little bit to see how these three things are put together. The toe is kind of coming up in the bottom, then this is placed on top of the toe, and then the chun is put on top of the whole thing, to make and unlike in many cases in compound Chinese characters, the components don't overlap on each other. The lines don't cross, but this is a case where all three components are on top of each other, and many of the lines cross. Okay. Oh, and let's just look at how that is actually drawn. Okay, so that I can't make it, or can I? Can't see a way to get the, yeah. The animations are good, but I can't get the animations to work unless oh, maybe if I turn off this. Sorry, I'm experimenting with things live. Here it is. So this is the toe part, and then this is the other component, which is the su part. And if you look at the strokes as they're going in, you can see that the strokes for the different components are actually kind of jumbled up on top of each other. Oh, that's the, yeah. Yeah. Because this line, the central line, is shared between these two components, which makes it even more confusing if you're trying to decompose it and figure out how you get that character. Okay, Now the next character, so that was ta. That was the ta in Bodhisattva. And then the very last character on this line, this is line number 17, is, let's see, it's we, which is to rely on. So that kind of completes the sense of this character, the Bodhisattva. Well, it actually doesn't complete it, but it sets it up for the next line. This is the Bodhisattva. What is the Bodhisattva doing? The Bodhisattva is relying on something, and we're going to find out about that in the next line. This is we. We is made up of one instance of the in. This is the left radical form of the character for person, in. And then this is a new character. This is we. So this is a case where the one of the components gives the sound for the character that's made up of. This is a phonosemantic compound. Although where the semantic part is supposed to come in, I'm not really sure. Because you would think that the person part is giving the meaning. It's not clear how that works, but it is clear that the sound of this compound character comes from this component here, the we character, which means clothes or to dress or to wear, and it can be broken down further. This kind of a stub component down here, I call it a stub component because it's difficult to find an animation for this, but it does have a pronunciation. It does have an entry in some dictionaries, and it's also pronounced we, and it also means clothes, and it's considered to be a variant of this. It's kind of a radical, but it's well, I mean, I shouldn't even say that. It's a variant form of this character here, and I've got a little green asterisk next to it because I can't provide an animation for it. All right, and then the other component that goes on top is, of course, good old do, which means a lid, which is what it looks like. And the lid, of course, is made up of ju and il, two of the most common components that show up over and over and over again. Now the animation, that's the in part, and then the we part. Well, first the do, the lid, and then the lower we part. And then just one thing to look at there is that the on this stroke here, see how it has a bend in it, and that's always something to keep an eye on. Strokes that have an angle in them. Most strokes just go in one direction, but let's see, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the sixth stroke in we changes direction in the middle of the stroke. That is, you change direction without lifting the brush or the pen, whatever you're writing it with. Okay, how are we doing? Yeah, okay, good. So I'm going to move on to the next line. That's the 3 new characters in the first line that we're covering this month, and that's all of their components. And if you so if you download the PowerPoint version of these slides, you'll be able to see all these animations if you have PowerPoint. I know not everybody has PowerPoint on their computer. You can always go to my website, the Writing the Ox. That's where all of these, so these animations are just screen captures of animations from, in fact, I can show you. I'm just going to break out of the, not that. Yeah. I'm just, if I go to one of these characters that we're looking at right now. This is just from the, like this one. This is just a screen. What I've done to embed these animations in the PowerPoint slide is just to do a screen capture of this animation here, which is, you can find, I'm running this on a local version web application, but you can also find it at the mindisbuddha.org website. If I can go there right now, as a matter of fact, let's see. And click on Writing the Ox, and then you just click on Heart Sutra, and then you're there. I've shown that before. If anybody has any questions about that, please send me an email or speak up now or put a comment on the recording. Oh yeah, and what's the... I can show you the... What is it called? HitPaw. This is the software that I'm using to make those screen recordings. HitPaw, just to give people credit where credit is due. Hopefully this isn't going to crash my computer. Let's see. It's a little resource intensive. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to go back into full screen mode. All right. So the line we're looking at now is 18, and here is line 18 right here. Ban ya ba ra mil ta, Prajna Paramita in Sino-Korean. Ban ya ba ra mil ta. Ban ya ba ra mil ta. What is it? Go shim mu gae. All right. And that means the Bodhisattva relies on Prajna Paramita. Therefore, the mind has no hindrance. So these two characters, one of which is not too bad. This character has a lot of strokes in it. And it's actually, you have to really kind of make the font fairly big in order to be able to really make out the components. This is a character that I'm still struggling with, to draw correctly or even legibly. But let's look at this one first. This is ga. Can also be pronounced gui, but the pronunciation that is used in the Heart Sutra is ga. And oh yeah, so this is a good example of a two-character combination where both the characters mean the same thing, and the combination of the two characters means the same thing as either of the characters combined. And this is a really, really, really common pattern in Chinese in general. The Chinese language, or I don't know what the right way of saying it is, the Chinese language or speakers of the Chinese language have a preference for two-syllable words. And so even when they have single character words that have the meaning that they want, there's a preference for taking two of those characters that mean more or less the same thing and putting them together to make a two-syllable word. That's a really common phenomenon in the Chinese language. So this is ga. It's made up of mang, which is the radical form of the character for net or web, and then the thing that the gong is on, the mang is on top of. This is very interesting character here, gu. And so just as these two characters put together is an example of a pattern in the Chinese language where the language likes to put characters together to make two-syllable words. There's also something else that happens sometimes in making up characters themselves. Sometimes you just take two exact copies of the same character and either put them together or stack them on top of each other. And I've got a slide on that will be coming up. And in Chinese, these are actually called stacked characters, where you've taken the same component and just multiply it. And sometimes they'll even have three copies of the same component in it. But anyway, so this gu, which means a jade, tablet, or scepter, is made up of two copies of the character to for earth. Now, the character, so that's ga. We say mu ga e. That means no hindrance. That's a wonder. That's what everybody wants, is to not have any hindrances, right? That means nothing gets in your way, and that's what the Bodhisattva attains by relying on Prajna Paramita. Um, Ironically, perhaps, writing this character is a big hindrance for me. It's very complicated, and not only does it have a lot of strokes, but it has a lot of different parts. And getting all the parts into the right place and in the right proportion to each other is, I think, it's a really good exercise in learning to write Chinese characters, but it's very challenging for me still. Um, and there's different ways of writing this character. Actually, if you unfortunately, if you look at the example down here in the animation, you'll see that the proportionality between the left component, the sok component, which means stone, is quite different. Here, the way it's written in this font up here, the sok component is elongated almost to cover the entire up and down length of the character, whereas up here, the sok component looks more like the way sok would look as a standalone character. It's a little elongated, but it doesn't go nearly, it's not stretched out nearly as much as it is up here. In particular, sok, of course, has two components of its own. One is this, oh yeah, I should have put a green asterisk next to this one. Or no, this, okay, I didn't put a green asterisk next to this because this is considered a variant of the Han component, which means cliff, which we have covered. But the other component is gu. So gu is usually looks like more like a square, whereas here it's obviously very stretched out. Okay, whereas down in this version in the animation, it looks more like gu usually looks. It looks like a square, not like a stretched out rectangle. Anyway, but so you can, at a first pass, you can take a, which is the second part of ga a, which also, so the ga, you can say it means entangle or block. A means to obstruct or deter. These are all kind of synonyms anyway. Anything that gets in your way, anything that tries to prevent you from going where you're going, that obstructs you, that deters you, that entangles you, that blocks you, that obstructs you, because they're put together to make up something that is usually translated into English as obstruction or hindrance. Okay, and which they both mean on their own. So the left part of A is just this sok, which means a stone or a rock. But the left, that's the left part. The right part is also a new character that means we, which means doubt or question. So that kind of makes sense in terms of semantically. It's not clear where the sound for this comes from, but anyway, this we here, which means doubt or question, is the really complicated part of this character, and it's made up of 4 pieces put together. So this little piece over here is a fairly common component that we've already encountered, and I've got just so you can, if you don't remember a component, you can kind of look here. You can see its number. You can also search if you get these slides either in the PDF version, which is a much smaller file. It just doesn't have the animations in it, and obviously you can't look at it in PowerPoint. But whether you get the PDF version or the PowerPoint version of these slides, you can look up any of these characters because the full vocabulary for everything we've covered so far is included at the end of the slides now. So this is B. This little thing here, this is B. It was been covered before. It means a spoon or a dagger. This is C, which is an arrow. This thing here doesn't have a meaning. It doesn't have a pronunciation that I know of. It is a component you'll find in some other characters as well. I think this is the only one in the Heart Sutra. It's just got 2 strokes. This is a stroke that changes its direction. You can't find a stroke order animation for this. And this is another character that's been covered before. This is so, which means a bolt of cloth. And it has two components, one of which is yet another kind of stub component that probably doesn't have a dictionary entry anywhere. There isn't a stroke order animation for it, but it is a component that you'll see on this and other characters. And this lower part is the radical form for the character for foot, which has also been covered. Why is that in green? Oh, because it doesn't have. Does it not have? I'm gonna. Anyway, so we should take a break now. When we come back, I'm gonna double check why I have this one marked in green. But then we'll cover the rest of the characters after the break. Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute break now. I'm gonna continue on. Hi Hannah. So this component here it's been covered before, but it's let me kind of show you why. So oh yeah, let's just look at this character here. This character was covered way back in lesson number 3. This is she. This is a real common Chinese character that means is or this. And it shows up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times on its own, and then it also shows up 1, 2, 3 times as a component of another character, which is oh gee, this is right. This is actually this is going to come up later, and this is also in this line. It's not covered as a new character. This is the ri, and so sometimes this is pronounced ri. Sometimes, and here, as you can see right here, it says the pronunciation is either ji or ri. So sometimes you'll find bo ji, and sometimes you'll find bo ri, and they both are Sino-Korean ways of pronouncing bodhi, what's usually referred to in Sanskrit as bodhi, which is enlightenment. And because this character shows up, if you're actually writing out the Heart Sutra, and not just learning new characters as they come along, but actually writing out the Heart Sutra, you get a lot of practice writing this component. Even though if you go looking for it, you'll find this message. Sorry, the character, whatever, G, is not in the Hanzi Writer database. And if it's not in the Hanzi Writer database, then you are unlikely to find any stroke order animations for it anywhere. But you can find, but you can, if you just click on a character that it is a part of, then you can see how to write it. This is the il on top. And then, yeah. Notice here, in this is another instance of this other character, of this other component. So here, so has this little hook on the top, but in she, so there's actually disagreement about how you decompose she, and I don't want to get into that, but since this part of she doesn't have the little hook on it, sometimes people say that this isn't really so, that it's really an example of the foot radical with an il on top of it. I don't want to make my life or anyone else's life more confusing or difficult than it is already. Okay, so now we should go back to the slideshow and continue on with the characters. All right, so we're done with ga a. So now we have no hindrances. All right, now the next character okay, so without any hindrances, no, so this is mugae. We say mugae go, let's see, how does it go again? Let's go back to the slide before. It ends with Bodhisattva, oh, Panya Paramita go shimu gae, and then mu gae go mu yu gongpo, which means without any hindrances, therefore, without any hindrances, therefore, no have fear, or no existence of fear, or there or no fears exist, as people often say in the English translation. Okay, so Mu appears twice. This is the character that was just seen on the last slide. This is the what is it? Wait a second. What is that one? Yeah, that's right. That is the. Oh yeah, this is Gae again. No Mu Gae. Go Mu Yu Gong Po. Yeah, right. Um, Go Mu Yu Gong Po. Go is been covered before. Mu Yu is the first new character here, and this is this is actually a very common Chinese character. It means to have or to exist. Um, and so in Chinese, like in many languages, talking about having things or things that exist is very important. Do you have something? I'm taking Korean classes now. And so one of the things that we're learning is asking, do you have something or does it there? We're learning how to order things in a restaurant, you know? Do you have this? And if not, then I'll order something else. But if you do have it, then I'll take 3 of them. Uh, we're not learning anything like that in these classes because we're not learning how to order beer in a restaurant in classical Chinese, which one could do. Anyway, so this is you. This is means to have, and it's made up of 2 components. One of them again is a little stub component. It actually does have a dictionary entry. It has a pronunciation and a meaning. It means left or the east, and it's just 2 strokes crossed like that. One curves down, and the other one is just straight across. It's jua, and the other component is good old wol, which means moon, and that has been covered previously. So the 2 parts of the 2 character word, which we're going to look at more at in a little bit, that means fear, or actually it's pretty strong. This is a pretty strong version of fear, but each of these components on its own represents something fearful or frightening. The first part is gong, which in addition to meaning fear can also mean to be bound, which makes things even more fearful. Okay, and it's so yeah, this is gong, which has 2 parts, one of which is also pronounced gong, and this one also means bind, to bind, or to be afraid, to be fearful. The other part is just good old shim, meaning heart or mind. This gong can be broken down into yet another gong. So you have gong, gong, and gong. Same pronunciation all the way up the line. And the other component of that gong is bum, which is a new component. And it just has one of these. This is the gui, which was in the very first lesson. And if you stick a little ju inside of the gui, then you end up with this bum, which, so this is an interesting word in Buddhism. This is a word for anything or anyone that is unenlightened or mortal or worldly. So this is kind of used often as a term in Buddhism as as opposed to anything that is enlightened or of the Dharma. Bum. I don't think it's used that commonly, but if you can find it in dictionaries that have Buddhist terms in it. And it's a new component. Obviously, shim is not a new component. Shim was in the title of the Heart Sutra, the shim gong. Okay, and the second part of the 2 character word for fear, without any hindrances, no fears exist, as we say in some English translations, is the character po. And it's made up of another form of the character shin. We haven't seen shin in this form before. This is a radical form of the character for mind. This is the left radical form. So you can see it's tucked up against the left side of that character. and it is combined with po. So this is also po. This is po, and this is po. And this po means this as far as I know, this is not a particularly common character that you'll encounter. It means to announce, or it can mean cloth. And here we have this guy again. See, it just showed up for the first time here, and now we have it again over here. And if you combine this jwa component with this gun, the kerchief. This is an old Chinese character that originally referred to some sort of traditional thing that you put on your head, part of and now it still can refer to that, but it can also just refer to a kerchief, and it's made up of gong, which is, so there's you can, if you take this kind of box shaped character, this open box, there's versions upside down, I think, which I think will be coming up on a slide soon. There's versions where it's on its side. This is the gong. This is the version where it's upside down, and it's I think that's just in fact, I'm going to click on the animation here. I can get it to go. And that's the jwa part, and here's the gun part. I want to do that again. I just want to see where the jwa part has 2 strokes. The gun part has 1, 2, 3. Okay, right. And so the upside down box has 2 strokes. There's a stroke down the side, and the other stroke is continuous. So it's another example of a stroke that changes directions. And this over here, this is gon. I think it's gon. Yeah, gon, which just means a rod. And it's it actually, you can find dictionary entries for this. It does have a pronunciation and a meaning, but I'm not including it as part of the vocabulary for this class, because it's just a line, and it's not a very common. It's a very, very uncommon character on its own. It does show up a lot as a component. Let's see. So that's mu dai go mu yu gongpo.
Kurt, question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Are you saying that po at the end of line 19 means exist?
Okay, let's go back to line 19 then. Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, even starting halfway through, no
this right
have
here?
fear.
This right here? Oops, sorry.
Yeah, starting with the second mu.
Mu ga e, go mu yu gongpo, go mu yu.
Yes.
Gongpo.
So starting with the second mu.
Okay. Yeah.
We have no have fear.
Gongpo is one word. Okay. It means fear.
So
it's a combination. So each of these characters means to be afraid, or something that is fearful. But when you put them together, basically, so this is in modern Chinese, modern Mandarin, this is a word that shows up a lot in horror movies. Okay.
Okay.
Gongpo is bad fear, very, very bad fear.
Okay, gotcha.
And so that's one thing that can happen in these 2 character combinations. Sometimes it's used for emphasis. Take 2 things that mean fear, put them together, and it's really, really bad fear. That's what's going on here.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Emphasizes the fear. Yeah.
And
okay.
Hopefully I'll have time to talk about more 2 character combinations. So now that finishes the characters themselves that are in this part of the Heart Sutra. But so the other characters that are included are for practice, for combining characters together, combining components together. This combines a new component from this class, the gun, which means axe, with the chak component that was introduced in the last class. This is one of the components of the character for do or Dao. That's one of the new, this new component, this new character. Again, this is not something that's in the Heart Sutra. This is just made by combining, take the character for in person and put it to make with the character for tree, and you get a character that means to rest or relax. Oh yeah, so this one means something that is near. And these are actually all the characters here are these 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all characters that you would learn if you took a first year Mandarin class or probably even a first year Japanese class. You would learn these characters. These are extremely common little characters. This character here, if you take the character for silk, which is sil, and combine it with the character gong, means to work, you get the character for the color red. And this is kind of an interesting character because it's often used in vernacular Mandarin Chinese to refer to something that's really cool or in vogue. If something is red, that's good.
Gong.
And this character is just the very first character that we covered in this class is the character that means vast, guang. And if you combine that with the character for tree, mok, you get a character that means a couch or a bed, sang. Okay, let's see. I've got a chat message. Okay, yeah. So Hana is confirming. Yeah, gongpo, which is the Korean pronunciation. Korean speakers recognize that as let's see, as horror, right? Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I'm going to give a pretty graphic example of that in a later slide that we'll get to soon. It's kind of amusing. Oh, this other character that I'm also sticking in the last class, the very last character that was covered in the last class was the character for actually, I think I got this wrong. This should be to exit. This is to exit. I'm going to correct this. No, I'll correct it later. This means right here, this should be exit, not enter. And it is chul. It is a combination of jua, another jua, which means a sprout, or it's not a it's a relatively common component as a radical. There are a bunch of characters that have this as its radical, and you combine it with this upside down box, which is gong, to make the character for to leave or to exit. Which it's really annoying. I really have to change that. Exit. Sorry about that. Okay. Slide. And then the next slide is more extra characters that are added in this week. There's let's see. So this one here, this is the number 4. And so one of the things that we're learning in this class, there are a bunch of numbers that are actually in the Heart Sutra, and I'm adding some extra. I'm also adding. By the time we get through with all the classes, we'll have all the Chinese numbers up through 10, which are actually good to know. This is this is sa, which is made up of we. So this has to be we. It can't be gu because it has something inside of it. And the thing that's inside of it is this the character that means a child or a person in. This character, this is Hong. This is the great in when anybody refers to the 4 great vows. This is the great in the 4 great vows. There's different words for great in Korean. In Chinese, this is one of which is in the Heart Sutra. This character on its own is not in the Heart Sutra, but it's interesting for two reasons. One, because it is in the title of the Four Great Vows. It's the Hong in the title of the Four Great Vows, and also because it has this very interesting component down here, which is a gong, which means a bow as in a bow and arrow, so bow as in weapon. But this is a component of this character here. This is a very uncommon, but nevertheless you will be able to find dictionary entries for this. This is an uncommon way in Chinese of saying not or negation, and it's made up with this gong. You combine it with biol, this slash character that shows up frequently. So often when a biol shows up, it shows up as just a little, not so much a slash as a little dash on top of something. But in this case, it shows up as a full biol, and this is gone again. This is part of the character for Buddha, which is in the Heart Sutra, and we will be covering later. And so I'm kind of introducing it now, so that when we get to Buddha, all we have to do is put the radical, the left radical for person on this, and you get something that, if you were to look at the meaning of the two characters, means not a person, or a person not. I don't think that's the origin of the character for Buddha, but it kind of looks like it. Anyway, and then, okay, so I saved this. So this has this really interesting component on the left, which is Gu, the jade tablet or scepter, combined with this other also quite interesting component, which is not part of the Heart Sutra, but it does show up a lot. This is the character Book, which means divination, and this character here, Gui, is the name for the trigrams and the hexagrams that make up the I Ching. And so this is kind of a cool character to know, Gui. So, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about how can it mean both a trigram and a hexagram, and what are trigrams and hexagrams. If we have time, I'll get to that. All right, so that's, this is 270. That's all of the characters that for this class. There's more to talk about. I want to go into some more depth on some of the characters we've already covered, but if there's any questions at this time, I could certainly handle that. Oh, Fatima's here now too. Good, thank you. Good to see you, Fatima and Joe. All right, so let's see now. And like I said, if you get the PowerPoint version, you'll be able to click on these animations and see them. You can also see the animations on the web application. You can also just, at any time, you can just, finding stroke order animations is as easy as copying and pasting something into Google and saying stroke order animation. And sometimes you'll encounter sites that just say it doesn't exist or error or whatever. But for the vast majority of the characters and components that we're covering that are part of the Heart Sutra, you can easily find stroke order animations like this just by copying and pasting into Google and saying, or DuckDuckGo or whatever search engine you prefer, and saying stroke order animation, please. All right. So now, what else is there? The very first character that we covered in this month is so. And I think I referenced the fact that so is a bit of it's a really common Chinese character in everyday Mandarin, both written and spoken Mandarin. It the meaning, you can find lots of YouTube videos of very helpful Mandarin Chinese teachers trying to explain how to use so and or it's pronounced something like suo in Mandarin. But in this particular setting, it uses this meaning: a prefix to form a noun phrase from a verb, or prefix to form noun phrases from verbs. So, so deuk, that's so deuk here. The prefix so is attached to deuk, which means to attain. Therefore, so deuk means that which is attained. If you put mu in front of that, you get there is nothing that is attained, or something like that. Another meaning for so is place. If you take a beginning level Korean class, one of the first things you'll learn is jangso. So one of the things you learn is how to ask where things are and how to talk about where things are. Jangso is a Sino-Korean word for a place. Is that is that correct, Hana? Jangso? Yeah, okay, good. Because sometimes when you're first learning a language, your teachers will give you a very oversimplified version of things that sometimes turns out to be completely different from the way people actually talk. So I'm really glad to have a native Korean speaker here who can keep me from telling lies. Korean is all Korean people must be very, very smart. It's an incredibly difficult language. So I guess I don't know how you do it. Anyway, so John, this is Sojong or Jangso. Jangso, I'm sorry. I'm saying Jang. Oh, this is Sojong. Jang. I think I got this backwards here. But it's both the characters have more or less the same meaning. But this is getting to the point down here. I think I might have screwed something up here. Is it Hana? Is it Sojong or Jangso? Which? Jangso?
It's Jiangsu.
Jangso. Okay.
Yeah, so the Chinese is switched in the third paragraph, like
Yeah.
you thought, and then also when you wrote it in Korean,
Uh-huh.
the first letter should be a J, not an S. Cheop.
Oh, look at that. That's right.
No big deal.
Yeah, no. Thank you. Let's see. So if I get out of second, I know how to type in Korean now.
Yes.
Yeah, like that. Okay, good. And then and so this is correct. Jangso, correct? Right? Jangso. So this is Jangso. Yeah. All right. I think I've got it right there now. But anyway, at least the question that occurs in my mind is, why do this? Why have? And it's just because the preference for two-syllable words in Chinese is very, very strong. And so a lot of times if you have in modern Chinese culture, if you have a first name that only has one syllable, then you have to have a nickname that also has one syllable. And when you introduce yourself, you have to you can't say my name is and give a one syllable first name. It's just, or at least that's what I've been told by people who speak Mandarin and people who teach it. A first name in Mandarin has to have two syllables. But some people have one syllable names. So what do? They add another syllable. and the other syllable is your nickname. So they both mean more or less the same thing. This is oh yeah. And so in this box up here, there are many different kinds of two-character words in Chinese. So-called duplicate pattern is a category of words that contain the same character repeated twice. That's exactly the same character repeated twice. Sometimes and I'm going to show some examples of that. But sometimes instead of the exact same character repeated twice, you'll have two characters that mean pretty much the same thing and put them together. Sometimes you even take characters that mean something different. So you can say jua u, which means left right. and it can be used. Now, I don't know if this is used in spoken Korean, but it does show up, these two characters in Mandarin. If you want to say both sides, you just say left, right. Anyway, so, and since there are at least 25 examples of two character combinations in the Heart Sutra. And if you start going through the Heart Sutra character by character, start trying to figure out how does it mean what we think it means, you're going to have to deal with these two character combinations. This I already talked about a little bit. Bosal is short for Bodhisattva. Both of them are transliterations of Bodhisattva, where and the characters, again, and we've talked about this before, the characters do not mean a Bodhisattva, even more any more than the when we write out in English Bodhisattva. This only means Bodhisattva if you understand that it is our attempt to pronounce and spell out in our own language a word from a foreign language, Sanskrit. And this is a really nice picture of a Bodhisattva. I like this one. I think this is, oh yeah, this is supposed to be a painting of Maitreya. All right. So this slide has a bunch of different, well, a bunch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different translations, not of the entire section that we are looking at this month, but of the meat of it. Therefore, Shariputra, since bodhisattvas have no attainments, they rely on the perfection of wisdom and abide in it, having no obscurations in their minds, they have no fear. Now, this is the Dalai Lama's translation from the Sanskrit version, and this is Red Pine's translation from the Sanskrit version. Therefore, Shariputra, without attainment, bodhisattvas take refuge in Prajna Paramita and live without walls of the mind, and thus without fears. Thich Nhat Hanh, this is Thich Nhat Hanh's translation from Xuanzang's version, the Chinese version. Bodhisattvas who practice the insight that brings us to the other shore see no more obstacles in their mind, and because there are no more obstacles on their mind, they can overcome all fear. This is from the Chinese by Kaz Tanahashi and Joan Halifax, Roshi Joan Halifax. Being free of attainment, those who help all to awaken abide in the realization of wisdom beyond wisdom and live with an unhindered mind. Without hindrance, the mind has no fear. And this is, so I'm attributing this to Sung San. I don't know if Zen Master Sung San, my teacher's teacher, I don't know if he did the translation himself. He certainly oversaw it and approved it into English. With nothing to attain, the bodhisattva depends on Prajna Paramita, and the mind is no hindrance. Without any hindrance, no fears exist. This is much closer to the character for character meaning of Xuanzang's original, although, damn it, sorry about that. The one problem here is this kind of strange, the mind is no hindrance. This could definitely be improved, this part of the translation. But the thing is that if you are lucky enough to find a group of people that you can practice together with who chant the Heart Sutra, you should never try to correct their translation. You should just be very grateful that you have someone to practice with. And there is no, once you start trying to fiddle with these translations, there's no end to it. You can notice things that are that need some help in explaining. And in English, you would not say the mind is no hindrance. Well, you know, as I think about it, maybe you could say it. I don't know, but it just seems a little funny. Therefore, Shariputra, this is Edward Kanze, one of the first people, probably the first person to translate the Heart Sutra into English, and he was also using the Sanskrit. Therefore, O Shariputra, it is because of this non-attainmentness that a bodhisattva, through having relied on the perfection of wisdom, dwells without thought coverings. In the absence of thought coverings, he has not been made to tremble. So some of this is a little too literal, in my opinion. And this is from the website, the Triratna. So know that the bodhisattva, holding to nothing whatever, but dwelling on Prajna Paramita, is freed of delusive hindrance, rid of the fear bred by it. Okay, so that's good to look at and to be aware of. Let's see how we're doing on time. I think, let's see. Yeah, we can go for another 5 minutes or so. So this slide is mostly just to kind of help take apart this A character, and also to return to this theme of combining two characters that mean basically the same thing, to emphasize that common meaning. Oh yeah, also, this is another example. This ga character, this is another example. There is no stroke order animation for that. So if you want to see how, but if you want to see how it's put together, you just look at the top part, which is, let's see, that's Mang, I think, the net character.
And it's not just fuel, it's food, it's water, it's shelter, it's sanitation supplies, it's medication. They run out of pain medications, they run out of anesthesia supplies, they run out of basic medical instruments.
Huh. All right, now, oops, see, I'm getting ahead. All right, so this we can get to the horror part in just a second, but the yeah, it is, again, this one component of A doesn't have an animation, but if you want to really see how each of these pieces are drawn, it's good to look at the individual animations. All right. Okay. So if you take these two characters, put them into a Google search and look for images, this is what you'll find. You'll find pictures from horror movies. And if you go to Wiktionary, in fact, I'm going to do that right now. I'm just going to click on this link that's embedded in the PDF. This is the Wiktionary entry. So sometimes when I'm looking up two character combinations, I'll use like, my dictionary of medieval and classical Chinese, or I'll go to the digital dictionary of Buddhism, because a lot of times the two character combinations that are in the Heart Sutra might have some special meaning for Buddhists. This is not one of those times. This is, so in Mandarin, this would be something like gongbu. And here's the terrifying, dreadful, horrific, frightening. And so this is just the, actually, this is actually be a good place to show you. I probably mentioned it before, but I'm just going to show you what happens if you look up Ga-A in Wiktionary. Gotta get the characters. Here we go. Here it is. So if you go, once you're in Wiktionary, then it's very easy to just search for other characters. Search field works really well. You can see what I'm doing on screen, right? I'm just searching for Gaia in Wiktionary, and it says down here, it gives a specific meaning for Buddhism. See, it says Buddhism. In Buddhism, this means a hindrance, obstacle, or obstruction. Notice how I didn't say that for Gongpo. For Gongpo, it just said, this is horror. This is terrifying. So this is not, so sometimes, and quite often, Buddhists have slightly different or their own usage of Chinese characters, including of two character Chinese words. Sometimes the pronunciations that you find in the Heart Sutra are a little bit different than the pronunciation you would normally find for characters as well. All right. Okay, let's take a 5-minute break at this point, and then come back and we'll finish up. Okay. Let's see. I am sharing the screen. Okay.
Sorry, Curtis, it's Fatima.
Sure.
Just
Hi, Fatima.
sorry, I came halfway. I think I got caught up. We've had a winter time change in the UK, so it's
Oh, yeah. We're having the time change tomorrow. So
okay.
tomorrow
Right.
we'll probably be back in sync with how we used to be. Yeah, I get it.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I
Yeah.
actually I tried to I missed an online thing last week completely because of the time change. Yeah, or the time difference. In fact, I used the website that showed where to connect to that meeting had its own conversion thing for it told you, oh, this is the time in your place, and it was wrong. So I missed. Anyway, all right. So we're gonna start back up again. Here's where we were looking at terrifying images, and I think we can move on from this now. Any questions on how to say things that are terrifying in Sino-Korean or in the Heart Sutra? Let's see now. Okay. So the next slide, is another. Oh yeah. So this is looking at another character that this character for get this right. Oh crap! Like this. There we go. Yeah, the character that can mean trigram or a hexagram. And so if you look it up, you'll find that it does mean a trigram or a hexagram. And actually you can, so one of the reasons why I wanted to introduce this character is because in last month's class, we looked at the Korean flag because one of the characters that was in the part of the Heart Sutra that we covered last month was the character Do, which is the character for the way, as in the Tao, as in Taoism. And so, we also talked a little about Lao Tzu, the founding teacher of Taoism, last month. But in the Korean flag, in addition to the yin yang symbol in the center of the flag, there's also these four very interesting symbols surrounding the yin yang symbol. These are trigrams from the I Ching. Now, the Chinese characters associated with the trigrams are not part of the Korean flag. I just put those in there so that you could see which is which, heaven, fire, water, and earth. But these are trigrams, and if you're familiar with the I Ching, you know that the I Ching uses actually hexagrams, where you take these four, and then there's four other ones to make up the hexagrams of the I Ching. And if you want to make it clear whether you're talking about hexagrams or trigrams, then you put the character 8 in front. That's what this is. This is the character. This is Pal, which is a character 8. Another way of doing it, this character means single or only one of. And so you can say if there's only one of these, then it's a trigram. If you want to make it really clear that you're talking about hexagrams, this is the Chinese number for 64, which is just a 6, a 10, and a 4, 64 hexagrams. And if you click on this link in this, most of the information that I got about this, I gleaned from a Chinese language website, actually the Chinese version of Wikipedia, which has an explanation of the trigrams and hexagrams. And a reference to, so this is how to say, this is actually backwards. Oh no, this is, yeah, that's right. Well, the name of the I Ching in Chinese is written like, I can't do that. I'm going to blow this up a little bit. In Sino-Korean, it would be pronounced Yuk Gyong. Gyong is the name for sutra or Jing. So the Yuk is the sutra of, I guess this means changes, because that's the way it's usually translated into English. And this is just some book that I found online that has the title of the I Ching in it. Let's see. So this character actually means both trigrams and hexagrams. All right. Now another, I mentioned that this character here is an example of stacking two characters on top of each other. So let's go back to when we first introduced that character. All right, here we go. See how the character for Gu, which is a fairly uncommon character, standing by itself, which means a jade tablet or a jade scepter, is made up of taking two character to characters and stacking them on top of each other. So in addition to, as I mentioned, in addition to making words by combining characters together, you can, we know that as a general principle, all of the characters that are here are compound characters that are made up by putting different components together. There's a special class of characters that are made by taking the same character and putting two copies of the same character together to make a new character, and that's what Gyu is an example of that, where you take two copies of To and just stack them on top of each other. And now if we go back to this character, this is all actually called a stacked character. It's called cheop ja. Cheop ja is a stacked character, where cheop, so ja is just the word for character in Chinese, and cheop is, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this word. Cheop is the word for stacking or stacked. And examples that we've already seen are in the very first class, we looked at the character for forest, which is rim, which is made by taking two copies of the character for tree and putting them together. The character for, let's see, this is ta, which is the character for much or many, or is just used to transliterate ta in Sino-Korean. You take the character for, I think this is evening, I think the individual character is suk, and you take two suks and you stack them on top of each other. This is jong, which is the character for to follow, which is just made by taking two copies of the character for in or person and putting them together. And then, just as you can take two copies of the character mok and put them together to make forest, you take three copies to make a jungle, or a dense forest. And this is, I forget how this is pronounced. This will be covered in the future. This is, so, and each of these has a number next to it, because these are examples from this class. These three are all actually, or no, these two are actually in the Heart Sutra itself, and these are characters that I've added in. This is good. I added this one in because this is part of the character that's pronounced jua. If you take this jong, which is two people, or the character for following, if you add this to the character to for earth, you get the character for sitting, which I think we've already covered. But the sitting character has a very nice kind of intuitive meaning of following the earth. When you sit down, you are following the earth, you could say. All right, if you take three copies of the character for gu, which is mouth, and kind of stack them up like this, you get a character that means class, ranking, or quality, and it's pronounced pung. Two copies of the character for day or sun, il, makes prosperity. Two copies of the character wall makes a character for friend. Two copies of the character su, which is water, makes a flood. And that's actually three copies of the character hua, for fire, is just a flame. And so there's a nice article which I would really recommend looking at Chinese Class 101 website on different there's they list 7 different kinds of 2-character combinations in the Chinese language. It's pretty good. And one of the reasons why I'm emphasizing this is, first of all, because there's lots of these in the Heart Sutra, and second of all, if you ever do want to try to learn Mandarin, you'll have to learn a lot of 2-character combinations from the very, very, very beginning. If you the very first level vocabulary for learning basic Mandarin is a lot of 2-character combinations. Now, this really interesting character here, cheop, if every morning in Korean Buddhist temples, or even in places outside of Korea where people practice Buddhism in the Korean style, so there's a practice that's done called the morning bell chant, and this character is in a really nice part of the morning bell chant. There's a beautiful little poem that's embedded in the morning bell chant, and that beautiful little poem is right here, or this is one of the lines of the poem that says, what is it? Chongsan chop chop. Oh, I've got it on the next slide. I'm gonna look at it on. Oh, these are more before I get to that part. Let's see. Oh yeah. So this character for stacked. I'm going to talk more about this line of poetry in a minute. This character for stacked is one of the more complicated Chinese characters that you'll encounter, and this is just decomposing it here. It's kind of an example. It's an interesting example of a stacked character itself. Let's see. Let's go to the next slide so I can see the whole. Yeah, here it is. Chung san chop chop mitagul chang he man man jokmyo gung mul mul yom re. It should pronounce more like yom ne mugae kigang song jon hakdu hong. So this is a kind of a free translation of this. Deep in the blue mountains is Amita cave. In the vast blue green ocean is the palace of ultimate stillness. The many beings move freely without the slightest hindrance. High in the pine tree, the red-headed crane. Do you see it? And I don't know. Does anybody here? Let's see. John has probably heard the morning bell chant. I don't know if anybody else. Hannah, I don't know if that rings a bell, so to speak. Haha. See what I did there. But this has always been one of my favorite parts of the morning bell chant. This little poem, and I never knew what it meant. And I wouldn't be able to write this out. But this is a good example of stacked characters. In fact, in this line of poetry, these 2 characters that mean stacked are stacked on top of each other. So chop chop is a 2 characters, each of which means stacked, and they're stacked on top of each other. And the meaning here is the meaning here is kind of you can see it when you look at mountains in the distance. They kind of, you see one mountain after the other because they don't line up exactly, and so you can kind of see them. These are the blue mountains stacked on top of each other here, this kind of grainy picture. That's the point of that poem. Now oh yeah, and speaking of the morning bell chant, in last month's class, I looked at several examples where characters that are in the Heart Sutra are found elsewhere in other Buddhist texts. Here, this is just part of the morning bell chant. This is the part of the morning bell chant leading up to that portion that these 4 lines here are from the poem that I just referred to. But all the characters here highlighted in green are in the are either a standalone character or a component of a character in the Heart Sutra, and then the characters in yellow are characters that are included in this series of classes that are added in like the character for San for mountain, which I think was added in last week. This is this one of the characters that we included this month? Let me see. Sometimes I say week when I mean month. Do we get to? Oh yeah, no, we haven't done that yet. Okay. Here we are. But these are all the characters in green and yellow will be covered. Oh yeah, here's one that we did cover this month. This is Hong, I think, the character for red. This is the red-headed crane right here. Oh yeah, oh yeah. The many beings move freely without the slightest hindrance. That is Mu Ga A, which we just covered. Oh, look at that. This is I grabbed this from a website. This is a simplified version of the character for A. And this is one character where you could almost, I normally try to avoid using simplified Chinese characters. Sometimes when I'm copying and pasting things from other websites, someone has already decided to use simplified Chinese characters, and this one kind of snuck in on me. Or maybe this is a sometimes also there's differences in well, just people have their own preferences. Yeah, that's so this just one more thing on this. So this is writing out this first line of the poem. Chongsan Chup Chup Mitagul, deep in the blue mountains is Amita's cave. This is actually writing it out, spelling it out, so you can copy and paste these letters. This is a picture of a placard from a Buddhist temple in Korea, where this poem is written out outside in big letters in front of the temple. This is a very popular poem and I think this poem was actually originally written in Korean. Okay. All right, maybe that's enough on the morning bell chant. But really, I can't get enough of the morning bell chant. I really like it. It's very beautiful. I used to find it very annoying because it's very slow and it's very long. Okay, now, more examples of the character cheop. This is cheop knock. This is the game Jenga. Okay, so the game Jenga is the name for the game Jenga in Chinese is stack happy. And these are, if you do Google search on these three characters, you'll find places where you can purchase the game Jenga from Chinese websites. Okay. Oh yeah. And so one character that I did add in this month, go back to the sorry for going back and forth, but I want to, oh no, this component here. All right. Chul, which was introduced last month, this was a component of Chul that I didn't have, I wasn't able to include, trying to stick to only having 30 new characters and components for every class. So this is a component of the character for to exit, which is just this upside down box, nice and simple. But I think this might be the last slide. This is a nice little, actually a Zen poem, 2-line verse, which means if you go out through the gate, you meet Maitreya. If you come in through the gate, you meet Shakyamuni. This is actually in a collection of the continued essential sayings of the ancient venerables, which is a collection of basically Zen aphorisms in Chinese. And this is a good example of the use of the character Chul. This is the character Mun, which we've covered. This is a character Bong, which we have not covered. This is one way of referring to Maitreya in Chinese characters. It's pronounced Miruk in Sino-Korean. This is another character that we have covered. Ip, which means to enter. This is Mun again. This is Gyon, which is in the, it's part, it's very early on in the Heart Sutra. And then this is one of the ways of referring to the Buddha, so Shakyamuni Buddha. So you can refer to Maitreya Buddha as Miruk in Sino-Korean, and you can refer to Shakyamuni Buddha as Soksa, Sokka in Sino-Korean. And if you want to see this entire collection of Zen aphorisms in Chinese, you can click on this link here. But yeah, all right. And now we're to, this is just all of the vocabulary is included in this slide, included in this slide deck. Up through, let's just go see all the characters that we've covered. This goes up through 270. So this is the last character that we've covered this month. And I have the characters up through 300, but just the characters. I haven't put the pronunciations and the meanings yet up through 300 or up through 360, but there's only 90 characters left. All right. So if there's any questions at this point, or anything you want me to go back over, or not? Yeah, and so by next month, anybody who's coming in from outside the United States or someplace where they do daylight savings differently, we should be back in sync by then. I guess Scotland made the change yesterday, and the United States is doing it tonight. So I'm sorry that happened. If there are no questions, then we should end with reciting the Heart Sutra one more time. I'm gonna find that. Here am I. Let's see. I know it's here somewhere. It's in my new chants folder. Yeah. There we go. Okay. So thanks for everybody for coming. And we'll meet again on the first Saturday of December. And now we'll end with chanting the Heart Sutra together.
Mahavanyavara
Thanks again for coming, everybody. And if
Thanks,
anybody wants to ask questions or talk, I'll stay on for a few minutes. But it's great to see everyone.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kurt.
I will.